What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Chuds BBQ. My name is Bradley Robinson, and today I'm going to show you how I made this. Beautiful, delicious, smoky, barky, juicy, amazing smoked rack of pork with the most crispy potatoes you've ever seen, and of course a beautiful pork demigloss to go over all of this stuff. Coming up. This is some pork. Pat it dry. And what I've got here is an 8-bone rack of pork. Picked this up from my friends over at D'Artagnan, and by that I mean I paid full price because I don't have any friends over at D'Artagnan yet, but I'd like some. But either way, this was only like 60 bucks, which is really nice this time of year. You know, I always try to make one recipe that is fitting for the holiday table that's not going to break the bank nearly as much as a tenderloin or a prime rib or a Wellington or something like that. And this is a great option because you're still going to be able to carve it up and have that nice presentation of something like a prime rib for a fraction of the cost. And this one should be extra good because this is from a Berkshire pig, which have a lot of flavor. And if you look at it, we got a good amount of intramuscular fat back here. It is bone in, and it's already Frenched, which is really nice. That just means these bones are all perfectly clean, so I don't really have to do any knife work. But of course, you could get these that aren't Frenched, and you just get a little extra meat, but this is mostly a presentation thing. And if you're unfamiliar with this cut, it's essentially a rack of baby back ribs with a pork loin on it, so you know it's gonna be tasty. But as for prep, I'm not really gonna do anything at all. You know, it's got a pretty good fat cap on there. You could take that down if you wanted to, but I think this is looking pretty good right out of the package. Except for this little piece right there that'll probably flake off. There we go. But I'm just gonna go around taking a look, making sure everything is looking pretty, nothing's hanging off that's gonna burn up, just kinda give it a once over, make sure there's no bone fragments or anything like that. But really, there's not much to do, so we need to get this thing seasoned up. And how you season this up is completely up to you. You could throw your favorite barbecue rub on this and toss it right on the pit right now. You could dry brine it overnight, or you could do what we're gonna do and make a wet brine. First and foremost, it's gonna fill this thing up with a whole bunch of aromatic flavors. We're gonna throw some herbs and garlic into the brine. It's also gonna season this thing all the way through because it's a pretty thick cut of meat. And we don't wanna just have a salty exterior and a bland interior, but also it's a pork loin, so it's pretty lean, and I think adding some extra moisture to the party can only help out. So let's make a brine. Ingredients for our brine include some water. And what I did is when that pork roast was still in the package, I put it in this container and I filled it up with water, and that gave me the exact amount of water I know I need to cover it. Then I weighed the water to calculate the amount of salt I'm gonna add, which for me today is about 4%, a little less than 4%. And typically with a brine like this, I'll do a 5% brine, but because we're gonna be adding some rubs to the exterior after it's brined, I dropped the salt content of the brine just a little bit. And now we're just gonna whisk this up until it is all completely dissolved. And once it's all dissolved, I'm gonna take just a little bit of this out and I'm gonna bring it up to a simmer in this pot over here. And that heat is just gonna help bring out all the flavor from our aromatics, which include some bay leaves, some thyme, and some rosemary going in. Also got some crushed up garlic, black peppercorns, as well as some allspice berries. And if you smell these, they smell just like the holidays. And I was gonna throw in some cinnamon and clove, but turns out I'm fresh out. But I think these flavors will work really well. So I'm gonna let these kind of steep in here and make ourselves a little bit of a Christmas flavored tea. And while that infuses, I'm gonna go in with some lemon juice. We'll throw the lemons in there as well. 2 lemons total. And I usually like to add acids to brines, especially when I'm doing chicken or something, but I'm not gonna go too much for this one because, especially with pork, it can kind of change the color of it and start kind of chemically cooking it a little bit. So just a little bit of lemon juice, add some brightness. And after this is cooled down a little bit and all those flavors are infused, in we go. And get that all mixed up one more time. Pretty simple brine today, but I think these flavors should work really well, especially all those herbs. And no, that did not heat this up at all. And now all there's left to do is pop our beautiful pork rack in here, and we are good to go, fully submerged. And because this is only gonna be like an overnight, maybe 20-hour brine, I'm gonna inject it a few times just to help that marination process begin and make sure we get salt and flavor all the way throughout this thing. Nothing too crazy here, just a couple of pokes, but not nearly as much as if I was doing a pastrami brine or something like that. Although pastrami rack of pork does sound pretty good. Just gonna fill this up a little bit and get all those flavors in there. And there we are, fully submerged, looking absolutely beautiful, smelling nice and fresh. So now I'm gonna pop a lid on this, and into the fridge this goes until tomorrow. This video is brought to you by Helix Sleep. Helix Sleep makes premium quality mattresses and bedding shipped right to your door. And I've been talking about Helix for a while now because I am genuinely a huge fan of that mattress. It is the best bed I have ever had. And I'm not alone. Bones has one, he loves it. We've got 2 down at the Chud shop. Matt James is sleeping on one right now and he keeps talking about it. My sister's been actually waiting for this video video to come out so she can use the link to get a mattress for herself. And I can't recommend it highly enough. I've had mine for about 3.5 years at this point, and it's still just as comfy as the day I got it, and it's the best sleep of my life. And how it works is you go to Helix's website where you can take their sleep quiz where you enter your basic information like height, weight, sleeping preferences, and all that sort of stuff, and they will match you with the perfect mattress for your unique body and sleeping style. I took the quiz with Brooke, and because she's a side sleeper and I'm a back sleeper, we were matched with the Helix Sleep Dusk Luxe mattress, and we got the Glaciotex cooling cover, which is really nice because I tend to sleep pretty hot. But the Helix lineup offers 20 unique mattresses, including their Elite collection, the Luxe collection, as well as mattresses for big and tall people and kids. So there's something for everybody. Helix mattresses are fiberglass free, they have a 10-year warranty and a 100-night sleep trial, so you got more than 3 months to make sure you love the mattress. And flexible payment plans are also available. But probably the most convenient part about Helix is that it's shipped right to your door. Basically, they shrink wrap the entire mattress to make it a much more manageable size, put it in a reasonably sized box, and ship it right to you with free shipping in the US. Then you break the vac seal, watch that mattress come back to full size, throw some sheets on it, and you've got the easiest bed setup of your entire life. And it's way easier than trying to strap a king-size mattress to the roof of your car and then drag it up a flight of stairs. Trust me, I know. So if you're looking for the best sleep of your life, go to helixsleep.com/chudsbbq where you can save 20% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows. Again, link in the description, that's helixsleep.com/chudsbbq to get 20% off your mattress plus 2 free pillows. Thank you, Helix Sleep. Next up, let's go ahead and make a smoky pork stock for our eventual pork demigloss. Got the old Chud box fired up here, and we're going on with some pork neck bones. Ooh. As well as some fresh pork hocks, which are skin on, which are pretty good looking. And that skin should add a lot of flavor and gelatin to our stock. That is, if I don't eat it. And we're looking at about $9 worth of pork right here, so not breaking the bank by any means. But you could always just save your pulled pork blade bones and just make a pork stock that way. But I think this should work out well. A lot of meat, a lot of bones, a lot of gelatin in these cuts, which should give us a nice, luxurious pork stock. So we're gonna roast these for the next, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour or so to get some color and build up some flavor. But I got this pit fired up to about 300 degrees. I'm also going to throw a carrot on there and an onion as well, because why not? Help richen that stock a little bit. So now we're just going to let these cook. And about an hour later, these are looking good. Again, we're not really trying to cook them too much or anything. Just get some nice direct heat flavor on there. And I can definitely smell it. These hocks are looking pretty good. I might have to buy some more of these and just do an actual cook on them, because that might be a tasty little crispy skin bite. But everything is looking good, so into the stock pot we go. Got my electric stock pot already heated up with some water in there. So we're just gonna go in with all of our bones, our carrot as well, and of course our smoky onion. Going with a few aromatics as well, including some garlic, a couple sprigs of rosemary, some thyme, a couple of bay leaves, and we'll do some black peppercorns as well. Now I'm just gonna top this off with water and let it simmer low and slow overnight. One overnight later, this stock has been simmering away for a very long time. Now it's time to strain it out. So into this little sieve here, just pull everything out, including this carrot. Yeah, gave us all it's got. It smells really good. And just like that, our pork stock is good to go. So I'm gonna pop this into the fridge for a little bit, got a lid on top, just to let it cool down and solidify a little bit more. And now that our pork has been fully brined, let's take a look and see how it came out. Well, it would appear the lemon juice did, in fact, change the color of this roast, which is surprising. That was a very small amount of lemon juice, but either way, I'm not too worried about it because pork is white when you cook it anyway. Also, it allowed a lot of brightness and some wonderful flavor, but this thing is feeling pretty heavy, meaning it got full of brine, but I'm gonna go ahead and rinse this off in the sink to make sure there's no extra brine on it. And just like that, fully rinsed off, looking pretty good. I did dry it off a little bit, but not entirely because I want it a little bit tacky so our rub can stick. And at this point, you can put on whatever you like, you know? You could just hit it with some black pepper and call it a day. You could throw it on just like this, but I think some extra rub will add some wonderful flavor and help with the crust a little bit. And I can't decide whether or not I should use poultry rub or pork rub. This is made with lemon and herbs, some bright flavors, and a lot of the same things that we put into the brine, so it would pair nicely. But the pork rub is specifically designed for pork with some extra sweetness, a little apple cider vinegar powder in there, because apples and pork is a wonderful combination, and I'm not sure which to do. So I think I'm just gonna go on with both. Starting on the back side, just gonna grab some of this poultry rub and do a nice dusting. And then we'll go on with this sweet rub on top of that. Layering rubs. What am I, a competition cook? Come on. I think that should be a beautiful combination. Flip it over, and we'll do the same thing. Top and bottom, and please, folks, don't forget the sides. Come on. Just look at the little herbs in there. Oh, it smells so good. And then we go on with our sweet rub. There's some granulated sugar in this, which should make some really good flavors with the pork. Beautiful. That is looking absolutely perfect. I am loving that color. So now I think all we need to do is fire up the pit. Il y a un serpent dans mes butt. And on the pit we go. Got the offset fired up today with a classic post oak fire. We're gonna pop this guy right about, and I'm gonna cook it relatively low and slow, probably around 250 at first, just to see what kind of temps we get on there. And I'm also gonna bust out my ThermoWorks RFX. I've had this for a couple of weeks now, and this thing is awesome. So I'm gonna just stick that right into the middle here. Boop. Beautiful. And generally speaking, I'm not really a big fan of leave-in probe thermometers. All the ones I've tried in the past are kind of shoddy, don't have great distance on them, and they struggle getting through the thick steel of the smoker walls. But this one has been absolutely fantastic. Zero problems. The range is incredible. And it's about as thin as you can get on a leave-in probe, so you minimize that hole you get in your meat. Especially this time of year when you're cooking a roast like this and you're making sides and other things for a hectic holiday meal, having a probe like this is actually really handy because you can just set an alarm on your phone to let you know when that thing comes up to like 1:30 or whatever. But yeah, it's been great so far. Not a sponsor, just a fan. Highly recommend it. But like I said, we're gonna rock around 250 degrees on this pit for the next few hours because we're only going up to about 135, 140 internal, which will probably carry over to 145 for a nice juicy pork roast. But I do wanna make sure we get some good color and some good smoke flavor on there, so we're gonna rock it pretty low and slow and just kind of play it by ear. So in the meantime, let's make some potatoes. So what I got here is some russet potatoes that I peeled and then washed and let soak for about 10-15 minutes to remove all the dirt, as well as some extra starch from the potatoes. And now they're coming up to a boil in cold water that I'm going to throw a big fat pinch of salt into, as well as a tablespoon of some baking powder. And we're just going to cook these until they are nice and probe tender and fully cooked through. Did I just say baking powder? I meant baking soda. Definitely baking soda. And I was hanging out at the Chud shop the other day. My buddy Bruce from Scotland made these potatoes that were just absolutely fantastic. Very similar to how I usually make roasted or fried potatoes, but he just left them in huge chunks and they were super tasty. So that's what we're gonna try to make today. And hopefully they come out as good as his did. And after about 15 minutes, these are probing nice and tender. If you get the old Thermopin, nice and soft. So I'm gonna put these into a little strainer here, drain all the water off of them. Now I got these in a bowl. I'm gonna move them around just a little bit to kind of rough them up. You see how they're looking kind of fluffy? That'll make for some really good texture when we drop them in the deep fryer. But I'm gonna let these cool down for a couple minutes while I let that fryer heat up. Over here at the deep fryer, I got my oil heated up to about 350 degrees, and I'm gonna go ahead and drop some of these bad boys in. And I definitely cooked these pretty far because some of them are already breaking up, which is fine by me. So down we go. And after about 5 minutes or so, these are looking absolutely beautiful, golden brown and delicious. So I'm gonna go ahead and strain these into some paper towels and let them cool down for a little bit. And what we're gonna do is set these aside, let them cool down. That way we can flash fry them at the very end to make sure they're nice and hot and extra crunchy when it's time for dinner. In the meantime, let's check back in on this stock. Definitely solidified, got some good wiggle jiggle factor to it. And if we look in there, all the fat has solidified to the top. So now we can go ahead and grab ourselves a spoon and just take all of that off. Oh, it's so easy. Gotta love that. Give us a much cleaner, better tasting stock. Out you come. And there we go, nicely defatted stock. Turn this pork stock from pork stock into a pork demigloss. All we really need to do is reduce it down. So I'm gonna take probably a quart, maybe 2 quarts of this and cook it down slowly until it reduces down to about a cup. So into this pot we go. Ooh, oh. That was quick. Oh, that smells so good already. So I'm gonna put this on medium-high heat and let it reduce down slowly. And once it gets really far down there, we need to make sure we keep stirring it and scraping down the sides so nothing burns. And reducing this stock is really gonna concentrate the flavor. It's gonna darken it up quite a bit. And most importantly, it's gonna concentrate the amount of gelatin in there. So it's gonna have a really nice, glassy, sticky, very unctuous flavor profile. But let's check back in on that pork. We're about 2.5 hours into this cook, and this thing is looking absolutely beautiful. Internal temp is rocking right around 135, 136 degrees. I just poked it with a Thermapen, which is that little white hole right there, and it's exactly the same as this RFX is saying, which is nice. But also, kind of the benefit of having a leave-in probe is you don't have to poke it so much, so you don't get all these leaky spots. But at this point, we've got to pull this out and take a look. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. I'm loving the dark color of it. Nothing looks burned or anything like that. Just a beautiful, nice mahogany, and it smells absolutely fantastic. Definitely got some good smoke flavor on there. And I've kind of been debating all day whether or not I should make a glaze or something like that, but we just spent a bunch of time making demigloss, so that'll be on the final plate. So I think I'm just gonna leave this as is. But at this point, you could sear it if you really wanted to, but again, I think we're gonna keep it simple today, and maybe we'll throw some butter on it at the end. But I'm gonna set this aside, let it carry over, probably up to that 145 mark, and then depending on how everything else is looking, if it starts dipping below, I'll probably pop it in the food warmer for a little bit to make sure it stays around 140 internal for eating temp. And after about 10-15 minutes of reducing, you can see this is all we're left with, and it is just super dark and super flavorful. So while it's nice and hot, we're gonna go in with some cold butter and just kind of emulsify that in to add some even more flavor and a really nice velvety mouthfeel to our pork demigloss. And once all that butter is whisked in, make sure to give it a little taste. Oh my God, that is so rich. The direct heat flavor comes through quite a bit. That is fantastic. Very umami based. Gonna go with a pinch of salt because there is no salt in our stock. Taste and adjust, add some black pepper if you like. And our beautiful, thick, lovely wing pork demi is done. Meanwhile, back to our potatoes. These are looking absolutely beautiful. Had them in the fridge for the last little bit, and you could serve them just like this, but we're gonna go ahead and smash these. So we're gonna take one of these bad boys and just give it a nice, gentle little press. Nothing too crazy. Just to make it a little bit better of an eating experience and expose a little more potato that'll get even more crispy when we drop these down in a minute or so. Oh yeah, tell me that's not gonna be good. I want to eat them right now. And then back over at the fryer later, got this heated back up to about 350, 360, and we're gonna go in for the final fry. And this is just to make sure they're extra crispy with that double fry action, as well as heated through, and all of our new fluffy internals are nice and crunchy. Should only take a minute or so. And just like that, does not take long, but look at how crunchy and golden brown those are. So out they come, directly onto some paper towels to drain off any excess oil. And then of course, we're gonna hit them immediately with some kosher salt. Oh, I'm excited for these. And at long last, folks, it is time to carve into this beautiful looking rack of pork. Loving the bone pulled back, loving the color. But to add a little extra flavor in Chud tradition, I'm gonna put some really hot foamy butter all over the top of this thing. You know, if it's good enough for a turkey breast in the barbecue world, I think pork loin deserves the same treatment. Oh, add some nice shine, some buttery flavor, and make sure it's nice and hot when we serve it. Oops. Oh no. Oh, what have I done? Ooh, a little brown butter at the bottom. Not mad about that. So I kept an eye on the internal temp and it carried over to exactly 145 degrees, which is perfect. But now, all there's left to do is carve it up. And you know me, I'm carving this thing upside down, especially with these. Those baby back bones are kind of hard to find. Just gonna go right in the middle. Oh, that is beautiful looking. Loving the color. Smells incredible. Beautiful cook on that. A little bit of pink. Looking nice and juicy. Well brined. Oh, I'm excited. Shooting white meat on camera is often kind of difficult with the glare, but I hope you can see how juicy that is. That looks phenomenal. Let's go ahead and slice one off. Nice, thick portion. And there it is. Put that on my holiday plate. I'm a happy guy, you know what I'm saying? Ah, love it. Might as well take one more off while we're back here. That looks like a good meal to me. And of course, we can't forget about our little pork demi situation over here. Oh, that looks so good. It's so dark. And there it is, folks, in all its glory. Look at that bark on that. A nice, juicy slab of bone-in pork loin with some crispy potatoes. And of course, our lovely demigloss sauce. I am so ready to dive into this. I mean, come on. I probably should be more civilized and plate this up with some sauce on top, but we're just in the backyard today, folks, and I'm just gonna take a big old chomping bite out of this. Oh, that was a nice fatty bite. That is so good. Yep. Pork loin needs more love, folks. I mean, really, it's just a baby back rib, but gigantic. And we've got that lovely bark on the exterior, a little bit of sweetness coming through. The brine, nice and herby. Really is tender and juicy. But now I'll be a little more civilized and slice it up with a knife because I want to try this sauce. Dip, dip. Oh, look how it just clings to it. So thick, and that's just gelatin thickening that up. There's no flour or starch or anything. Good God. That is so good. It's seasoned all the way throughout. Might have gone a little heavy on the rubs on the exterior, a tad salty, but I'm okay with that. It's like concentrated direct heat flavor into a little gravy situation. That's really good. It kind of almost eats like a ham, you know? It's just smoked pork. It kind of always tastes like ham, but this is something that I would gladly eat over the holidays. It's just so meaty, but it's not overly rich, you know? With a prime rib or something, it can be a lot, but this, I could just eat the whole thing and feel fine afterwards, but maybe the potatoes will change that for us. Look how crispy that is. I mean, come on. Yep. Tell you one thing, I'm definitely making these again. That is so good. So fluffy on the inside, so crunchy. It's like, ooh. Yup. And I bet it goes good in this little dip. Oops. Oh my God. Y'all definitely gotta make these taters. That is fantastic. It's so easy too. But this really is the star of the show. It's a perfect slab. And it really is incredibly flavorful. That herb brine really penetrated into there and it just sings of holiday season. I mean, come on. You don't want to take a bite out of that? Brooke?
Yes.
Would you like to try some crunchy potatoes and some, I don't know what to call it. I keep wanting to call it like a standing pork roast or a rack of pork or a pork prime rib. Regardless, would you like to try it?
Yes, I like rack of pork.
Yeah.
It looks like turkey.
It really does. And I put butter all over it, so it might taste like turkey.
I'm good. Kind of tastes like turkey.
Yeah. Perfect for this time of year.
I'm good. Oh, good grave.
Super flavorful.
I'm very particular about like a pork loin. You did this phenomenally. I think growing up, my parents like would just overcook the crap out of it.
Yeah, I grew up hating pork loin too. Well, back then
Delicious.
you had to cook it to 165 according to the government. Now it's down to 145. So potatoes are good. Spoiler alert. Knife don't lie. I can't believe you're cutting that up. I was just gnawing on it like an animal.
Well, I didn't want to burn myself. I wasn't sure how hot they'd be. Oh, that's the stuff.
The crunch factor is just there.
Yes, please.
Shout out my boy Bruce. Remember he made these at the Chud shop last week?
I was just going to say, that's what they remind me of. And I was wondering if you took inspiration from him.
I sure did.
Those were really good.
Oh yeah.
The fluffy center.
It's like how big they are. It's like a chicken nugget, but potato. And it pairs really well with pork. I was saying a minute ago, though, this is something I can get behind because I can eat a whole one of these and feel a lot better than if I ate a whole slab of prime rib.
Yeah.
I think the sauce really does make it because it's pork loin at the end of the day. We did our best to make it super flavorful, but having this in your back pocket to just add that umami punch really helps out.
I mean, the pork itself is super flavorful, but you don't want to skip the gravy.
Never.
But I wouldn't say that this is lacking of flavor.
No. No. I like it. Not too smoky either.
That's good. Alright, one last.
I'm not going to stop eating for like another hour. Now, before I carve off another slab of this and just eat it with my shirt off, I think it's time for the official taste test. Yeah. All right, y'all, and that is it. That is how to make an absolutely fantastic, smoky, porky prime rib, or pork standing rib roast, or bone-in pork loin, or whatever you want to call it. But I highly recommend giving this one a try. It really is a good way to save a few bucks while putting a holiday meal on the table. And other than the overnight brine and making the pork stock, which actually took the same amount of time, it was a pretty simple cook. You know, no fancy techniques or anything like that. Just threw it on the pit for a couple hours, let it rest down, sliced on in, and it was absolutely fantastic. And definitely something I would not mind serving to my family this holiday season. But all that being said, if you enjoyed this video, let me know by hitting that subscribe button. Let YouTube know by dropping a like on this video. If you give this recipe a try for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram at Chuds BBQ. Love to see what y'all are cooking. Big shout out to all the Patreon members. Thank you for supporting Team Chud and allowing me to keep making all these videos. And until the next time I see you, please go cook something outside. Peace!